experience with our lunch and learn with one of our Perk providers at ITEN. Zendesk is one of our Perk providers, if you haven't noticed yet, but they are a service-first CRM company with support, sales, and customer engagement products designed to improve customer relationships. They recently talked to 4,400 early-stage startups from around the world to see how customer support strategies at high-growth companies were different from slower growth startups. So Katy's here today to give us a kind of a lowdown on the customer experience that the Zendesk has learned. And Katy is a startup partnership manager at Zendesk, and she has 7 years of startup experience in addition to 4 years of Fortune 500 consulting. And then one of Katy's most outstanding achievements is she's was building Superlove, a $1 million e-commerce business, and knows firsthand the customer experience challenging growing D2C brand experiences. So I'm going to turn this over to Katy, and she can tell you a little bit more about her background if she wants to add on to that. And she's got some exciting information to share with us today.
Can I just say one thing real quick before you get started, Katy? If you're a student at Lindenwood and a professor you need to let a professor know that you've attended here. If you could just drop that professor's name into the chat, we'll capture that and we can report back to them that you attended this, and you'll get your extra credit for it. I know some of those people had mentioned it as something they could do for class, so wanted to just throw that out before you can take it away. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you, Connie, for the intro. So yeah, I'm Katy Lind. Before we dive in, I just want to cover a few things. So I have some expectations. You've all probably been on a lot of different Zoom calls. So I am going to ask so that you try to stay engaged. I will try not to be boring. That is my promise to you. But I will ask questions, and there's no wrong answers. Just throw them out in the chat. There is Q&A at the end. And so my ask right questions as we go. If there's a burning question or some word or term you don't know, you can also feel free to jump in and stop me or ask it in chat. I'll be monitoring chat. And then I really try to I hope this is going to be actionable and deliverable, valuable information that you can use. I know there are some students who maybe do not have a startup, but I hope the information can at least expand your understanding of what startups are. Connie did a great job giving my overview. I'll just say a little. My name is Katy Lind. I was a consultant for many years, and then I worked at Michigan. So I'm based in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I worked at Michigan's first unicorn called Duo Security. You might have used them to log into something before. And then I founded my own business. And then I worked at a startup accelerator at the University of Michigan. And now I'm over at Zendesk. And I'm super excited to be talking about how to deliver world-class customer experience. So my first question that I expect all of you to be able to answer, and it's okay if the answer is Professor Kyle required it. What brought you here today? So everyone can answer this. I know my colleague is here today as well, Hannes. Okay, I will call on you. You're not going to want it. Thank you, Hannes. Quentin, Yari, what brought you here? Katy, you can just put it in chat. Tara or Tara. Hey, friends. Yes, Tara or Tara.
Never mind, I was just saying hi.
Oh, hello. So what brought you here?
Here's
What brought
one of
me
our
here?
companies at ITEN.
Oh, so I am interested in just learning about Zendesk. As we build out our platform, I'm looking for various solutions, and it seems like Zendesk covers quite a few of them.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing.
you.
Melissa, what brought you here today besides possibly your job, or if it's just your job? I'll keep calling on people. I have time.
Yeah. No, actually, I'm very looking forward to hearing about not only Zendesk, but just the general CX. I think CX is one of the things that's getting a lot of attention lately, and it's one of the things that we are preaching from the very, very beginning with our Eureka program and getting people to to go out and start talking to customers from the very beginning before they even have a product, so they know what to build. Tara just completed our Eureka validation program in the fall, which is a big, hyper focused on customer discovery, and I think made a lot of progress in that 12 weeks that we put her through. But yeah, just looking forward to hearing what you have to say about CX and how we can all do it better.
Katie unmuted. Thank you, Melissa. Katie. Maybe
her audio seems to be having issues, or maybe
sure.
it's
Katie.
No, I think
Quinton,
she's connected. She just needs to unmute because the system.
Maho or Maho.
Hello.
Feel free to add and chat. Hi.
Hi.
What brought you here?
I was referenced by my teacher, Kyle Colby. He offered this for extra credit.
Okay.
So that's
I love
that's how I heard about it.
Totally. I hope this extra credit is worthwhile. This was supposed to be the easiest question of the day. So if you found it challenging, just again, there's no wrong answers. I'm just curious why you're here, and it'll help you stay engaged and not spend the whole 38 minutes or whatever on Instagram, which is obviously your choice. I'm not forcing you. Okay. So today is about customer experience. There's tactics, tools, strategies that are used by the fastest growing startups. I'm going to get into what a fast growing startup actually means, but I have my next somewhat easy question. And this is no wrong answers. Share in Zoom chat. If you don't know where it is, I can't really show you because I'm using it, but it's in Zoom. There's a little bubble, messaging bubble. What is customer experience? It could be one aspect. Throw it out. Hannes, do you know? You could throw out an idea.
I don't want to take too much room today, so I better leave it open to the candidates.
Anyone, what do we think? What is customer experience?
I would say that customer experience is probably the emotions or the memories that customers have after interacting with your company or using a product of yours.
I love that answer. That's awesome. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
And I love the talk about feelings. Yeah. How the customers engage with the product, all of these things. Yeah. Zendesk has a definition, and we say CX or customer experience refers to all the interactions that a consumer has with the company. So it includes everything you all said. If you all were thinking of things that didn't get shared, it's all of that. So why does customer experience even matter today? It's a trick question, but I'd like you all to still answer. So the thing I'd like you to share is share a brand or company that you're loyal to and why. Anyone can answer. Connie, Melissa are allowed to join in the fun of companies you know. Something you're loyal to. So loyal being, I go there a lot. I know a lot of people use Amazon. And Melissa, you don't use Amazon?
I just wish I didn't have to as much. Because
I'm loyal to Walgreens just because I am a rewards member there. So whenever I get the receipt printed out, there's always a bunch of coupons that I can go back and spend on a later time.
Yes. So Tara?
I can't think of any specific company at the moment, but companies that make things really easy to do business with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So you're rewarded for being a customer. Hannes is giving it's important. It is important today. It was a trick question. Hannes might have picked up on it. But yeah, you're rewarded for being a customer. You kind of it builds a relationship with you, right? And when they make it easy, I know personally, so I use Shopify in my business. When there's a problem with my Shopify, that means I'm not able to make sales and my business is temporarily offline, right? So Shopify makes it super easy to reach them, and they're really responsive and fast. And that's how they build my trust. They happen to have one of the best products, but if they didn't have that quick speed, I would lose trust. And I'd be I have to find somewhere else if my business isn't going to be able to function. I'm also loyal to an insane amount of other companies, but yeah.
No, I was just thinking, currently, the company that we're using for our curriculum, it talks about customer discovery and knowing your customers, so they better do it well, but they do it ridiculously well, I think, for an early stage company. And just the fact that they respond. So even though they're a small team, they're instantly, I feel like, they're there to help, and they are constantly asking those drill down questions, like why is, if I'm like, I really wish that it would do this, or I really could use that, I'm very much involved in product development. So I think that, that transparency that sometimes I think startups are afraid to reveal that they're a small team, or that they don't have, all the bells and whistles, but you can flip that and make your early customers really feel like they're a part of building something really cool. And they basically, that they're, you're at their beck and call as a company, because you need them, and you want them and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. So I heard, people talk about making it easy, feeling personal, having that connection. A data point that we're hearing is 81% of consumers will defect to another brand as a result of bad customer experiences. And that applies to business as well, right? And I also talk about I use Amazon for lots of things, and it's so easy. And I use it honestly, probably mostly because it's so easy, and I have a kid, and I just have to return things all the time, or I don't know what's going on there. But if it wasn't that easy, I would probably very quickly switch. But the thing is, I bring my mentality of Amazon to all the other businesses I interact with. And I know as a small business owner as well, I had people coming to us being like, why is my shipment not here today? And I was like, you placed it at 5 hours ago. I know Amazon has already delivered what you ordered at the same time. But so all these things are impacting how people view customer experience. So it's making it really complicated. It's really hard. And that's why now, and going with my Amazon example, expectations are higher than they've ever been, and people are harder to please. And we're probably all part of those harder to please, not in a bad way. You just think of 20 years ago. For those of us that were alive 20 years ago, things were not delivered immediately. You would wait weeks. And so one of the things, this is a data, we call it Net Promoter Score. You basically ask people to calculate this. You ask, how likely are you to recommend this product to a friend or a peer, colleague, if it's business? And people say 9 or 10 means I'm 100% going to recommend it. Anything below that ends up sort of, and then there's a middle 8, they're not going to really tell anyone. 7, and then 6 and below actually becomes negative. So this is why you see average score is 5, 6. That's about a percent. It's a weird thing, but basically I want to give you the sense is Net Promoter Score. People are promoting things less and less. They have less trust. It is harder out there. Then the cost of customer acquisitions, that's what CAC is 70% higher. So that getting in front of these people costs more money than it ever has. It's tougher. That does not mean don't have a business, right? But yeah, customer acquisition costs has increased from B2B as in business to business, as well as D2C, direct to consumer. It's up 70% from 2014. And then the perceived value is lower. There's just a lot of things. Entrepreneurship is, I truly believe, the bravest thing anyone can do. But look, we have the consumer willingness has also declined. And that's core features. And this is a lot of these are actually business to business products. We're not just talking about sneakers and stuff. And now there's also more competitors, which is an exciting time. There's obviously, and a lot of businesses are doing things a bit different. But what we're finding and know is that the companies that remember and keep in mind that it's all about the customer are the brands that are leading, and they're using it to differentiate with these great customer experiences. Because you can get your shoes and you can get you can do a lot of things the same way. But if it's the people who make it easy for you, that make it feel oh, I'm going to go back to Walgreens, I got a coupon. I love those coupons. I want to keep going back because they got me, and they understand, right? The coupons I get are for the things I'm already buying. So the companies that make it engaging, they make it easy for you, are the ones we keep going back to. And they're the ones that are ultimately going to start winning. These are some bigger companies, but some of them are not that big and weren't that big long ago. Gympass being an example. And we'll talk a little bit, this obviously today is about how are they differentiating. So I kind of made it clear, but if you didn't realize, it is hard to deliver a great customer experience. And that is why it's exciting, Tara, as you're sort of building out your business. Not everyone's focusing on it. And so it is hard, but if you're able to win at it, it can be a huge impact on your business and differentiator. So, these are the things that customers are expecting. They want it to be easy and accessible. They want personalized, engaged. The employees on the back end as a business, they need the right information and tools, especially no one likes the conversation where they have to have the same thing over and over again. Well, I told the last person this and this, right? We hate that. No one likes that. And they need to get started. Businesses need to get quickly confident in the service they deliver. And then finally, business operations need to scale and adapt as the company grows. And that's really something we talk a lot about, obviously, in our Zendesk for Startups team. And that's an important thing. If you have a cool tool, but it only helps get you so far, it doesn't matter. So this is why I'm able to talk about this, is Zendesk has 130,000 customers around the world. This is just to say, we see the inside of a lot of customer experience. And these are some of the startups that have been with us since their beginnings. So that's really cool. Uber, Zoom, Slack, Netflix, a whole array of business to businesses, as well as consumer, like Peloton. And so we had this opportunity to look inside, and we've seen inside more customer experience departments than anyone else, because Zendesk has always been focused on customer experience. There's lots of tools out in the world, but a lot of them have focused on lots of different things. Our bread and butter has always been like, how do we make the best customer experiences? And that's why I'm excited to be able to talk to you about it, because that's what we know. So Zendesk for Startups and our team, we've had startups coming in since January 2014, and that's when we started identifying them. And we looked to create the information I'm about to share. We looked at all 4,600 of these companies, and we said, okay, who's killing it? Who's like in this amazing top 20%, and who's in the other 80%? And then if you've heard the 80-20 rule, it did apply here. The high growth companies were that top 20%, and then there were the stagnant other 80%. And that's how we divided it out. So we wanted to focus, what are they doing? What's happening? When are they implementing it? And that's the question, Tara, because I know you have a business. One of the big things we hear from startups is, when am I supposed to do all this stuff, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff out there you should do, but you're like, when do people do it? That's one of the things we wanted to identify. And what are those things they're doing early versus later? So the first thing we learned is more than 70% of startups don't have that formal CX strategy at all. So we had the 100, and then we said 20 are just killing it. Of that 80% of the others, 70, of the 100, 70% don't even have a strategy. And that makes sense, right? Like, the big thing that people talk a lot about, if you're investing, if you're trying to get investment for the students, investors are very excited to see sales numbers. They want to see how much you fundraised otherwise. But we're going to talk about why this also matters, and it impacts sales numbers. So you're not alone if you don't have a strategy yet, but you can change it. And the reason we don't have that strategy is, people traditionally, it's really hard to convince people that customer experience matters, even though we all just said, I'm loyal to this company. I will shop here over and over again. I keep bringing my money here. People, when it gets to this business area, we're like, I don't know, it seems like a cost center. And that's where people think of it as a cost center, but what we learned is it's actually a growth center. And I have some examples coming. They're really interesting. So my question here is, do you think churn and retention rates matter early on? Churn is how many people or customers are not staying with you over time. You don't have to answer this. It's like maybe a bit more complicated, but if you do answer, I guess the question is, does it matter that you return customers? And some people have given me different answers. Melissa, you seem like you might have a response.
Well, Yes, I think it's important if they're the right customers. Sometimes
Great point.
when they're early, we just want any customer, and those can actually be
Yeah.
distractors that take you in too many different directions. But in general, understanding what's driving each of that retention or that churn is, I think, the main thing there. So
I love that answer. That was a perfect yes and no and why, and it's true, right? And I think you brought up a great point. And I asked this question because I don't know, really, everyone's had different opinions. So you're told someone has already said no, and I was like, okay. Yeah, you want the right customers. And I think if you can tell the churn story about why, it's really important, but you do need to understand what's happening. And investors will ask. They want to know how your new customers, but they also want to know how many have stayed with you and why. Because if you're not delivering on things, it doesn't matter how many new customers you get, because you're just always going to be having to pay to get more. And we saw that cost of customer acquisition costs have gone up. So what we found is that, yes, investing in customer experience does have a significant impact on revenue. And here's sort of how we came to that. So we looked at improving customer acquisition, so getting more customers. And if you improve this, if you're able though to improve your retention rate, so your retention rate goes to 9%, like we improve it just a little bit, that could be huge amount of more revenue. And this is just by 1%. That could have almost 4 times impact on revenue. So that's shocking. And that can be really compelling. Does it lead to growth? Yes. And so I've sort of proved, I hope I've proved it to you, like, yes, customer experience is important. Understanding why these customers stay or don't stay is important. So let's look under the hood of these 4,600 startups, this 20% that's like killing it. So here's what we found. So to start, I'm going to share with you, these are the 6 things. And as you know, Tara, or if you're an early founder, you have so much on your plate. This is the page to screenshot or photo. I take tons of screenshots of presentations, and then I have a crowded desktop. But if you want to screenshot something, I encourage it to be this slide. These are the 6 things. And I'll explain them, but they make sense. Okay. You do not have to do all these in a day, by the way. These are the 6 things we saw them do over the first 2 years after funding. So a lot of companies maybe get funded within let's say they get started, maybe a year later they start fundraising. Every company is different, but these are the things after that funding point. This is what we see them do in the first 2 years. So it's not in the first 2 months. So the first thing, add a support platform within 9 to 10 months after raising funding. And we talk about this as get out of your inbox, right? Most people use an inbox for a very long time. And they're like, well, email seems good enough. So what we saw from those the high growth is that they're 33% more likely to add support in the first year. They start prioritizing it earlier on. They tend to have maybe more growth, but they're also still prioritizing it and putting it at the forefront. Now, how do I know it's time? Well, we do this thing called the name test. Can you still name all your customers? This is a little example what that looks like. Okay. Oh my gosh. And I love that they're texting each other. Okay. So he's going to start naming all the customers, Kelly, and okay, I have Jay, who are all these people? Okay. What's your point? He doesn't remember. And she's obviously on top. I mean, she's probably in charge of buying this platform. So she's ready. She's got it. She's ready for her answer. Well, I think we need a support tool. So I'm going to share a cool story. So you don't have to read all of it. It's a ton of text, but Biobot, you may have heard about them at the beginning of COVID, but there were those people that were tracking the sewage water for COVID. And they were this company, and they went from 5 customers to over 400 almost overnight. And I mean, when in this instance, remember how we all know the world changed overnight, so did their business. And they had been using a shared inbox for support. And that shared inbox usually also includes like any other emails. So I'm sure he was getting his Walgreens discount coupons into the same inbox. And I say he because I know I read the story in greater detail, and it was a man who's like running this whole team. So they got onto Zendesk, and here are the things that happen when you have a platform. It's not just that now all of your emails are into this whole platform. You also now actually have ways to tag and manage and delegate and start putting, each person has like a whole story behind them. What are the questions they've been asking? And the big thing that was happening with Biobot is, so you have your customer success person, and then they had a team of many, many scientists. The questions that these people were having, maybe they're like the chief health officer of a county, they had very specific questions. So having a tool meant they were able to have conversations about each of these tickets, or like formally emails, without, say, the customer seeing a whole chain of emails. He was able in this tool to be able to say, okay, how do I answer these very complex questions? And so that was an amazing opportunity for them. And you want to start figuring out, okay, getting out the inbox can mean we can have data, we can collaborate on the back end so the customers don't see it. And so tools also, when we start putting tools, that's processes, and it helps you move forward and get things done as quickly as possible. And that's what happened for Biobot. And that's an example of a tool. It happens to be Zendesk. I happen to know the Zendesk stories because they're where I work. I don't know the stories. I'm sure every other companies have stories. Ours just, I have access to them. So,
well, when I saw Zoom on your guys' list, though, I thought, talk about a company that had to scale and
for sure
the world 2 years ago. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. And Biobot, similar. Biobot's a good story though, because it really was like 20 employees. They still have not a ton of employees, but they have built out this team. But like, it's nice because you're like, oh, they were a startup and they still are. Mm-hmm. They did pretty well in funding after that happened. Once people are like, oh, I found a really good use case. And one of the things they shared is they're now looking, what are the other diseases we can track in water? They work with universities, which makes a lot of sense because the universities want to know. We don't have to belabor it, but getting out of the email and using a tool often gives people a lot of time. And that's why we try to use tools if you're a startup. Don't use a tool if it's going to make it more difficult. Find tools that make it easier. All of you, anyone can answer, but what would you do if you had more time? My answer to this has never been good because I always think nap, but I would probably also spend more time just getting things organized, and I'd have more time to build out relationships versus some of these things that maybe are slowing me down. Mm-hmm. And I think for a lot of founders, the thing is, oh, I might have time to actually focus on fundraising, the actual part of my job. Yeah, the bigger challenges that as a leader, if you're the leader of your business, you need to focus on the big things that are in the horizon versus these like emails. And that's what we hear founders say that all the time. They're like, I was answering emails a lot. Like I couldn't figure out, I was sending emails to different people. Like that's what happens. So that's the first thing. So get out of email, use the tool. And that's in the first 9 months. Or when you're like, oh my God, we have too many customers. If you're like Biobot, maybe it's within, okay, it's been a day. Now everything's different. The next thing is we say, make it easy to reach you within reason. So you want to start branching out 3 to 6 months after you have email under control. So now we're at maybe a year to a year and 3 months. So I've got my email figured out. Email though tends to be not all the time. So hypergrowth startups are adding what we call omni-channel by year 2. And it's a big difference here. They're 30% more likely. Now, omni-channel can sound very overwhelming, but really it's like, oh, I have a chat feature on my website that someone's always manning. That's an important thing. Someone's always there. Or this is the use case I had, is in our e-commerce business, we would get questions about people's orders from Instagram. And I was like, I don't know who this, like, I'm getting, you have Instagram, you have your email, you have like, people are messaging every which way. We still get like crazy, people are finding you. And I've had people call me on my phone many times which makes sense, but still, it's as an older millennial, I'm always shocked people dare call me. Anyways, but we were getting all the Instagram, and we're not alone. This happens to a ton of startups, especially if you're a startup that has a big social following of some kind. So, okay, this is what the person wants. They message and they go, I need help with my order. And they're like, oh, hi, this is the dream situation. Shane is getting help right away. It's all set up, it's integrated. And this is what actually happens when you use Zendesk. The customer support, it's not someone sitting in their own Instagram, which is sort of what I thought it would be. That was really silly. It's someone, this Instagram DM goes into the system and it's showing up with all of the rest of Shane's information. And let's say there's maybe a Shopify integration, so this person, the customer support person, is seeing Shane's order, seeing where it is. It's all connected. That's the dream. And you don't want Shane to have what happens to this next person. We want Samantha's reaction. Anything else? Great, let me help you. You don't want this. Totally, I could, and this is like maybe in WhatsApp. Someone's mad. They have somehow found you. And they're like, why is it down? No one wants the, hey, this is not the right channel. No one likes that, right? No, so you want to create this effortless customer experience anytime, anywhere. And WhatsApp, not as big in the United States, huge around the world though. You want to be where your customers are. You want them to feel like it's easy to reach you. And that builds that trust we talk about. You don't want to know that if you're on Instagram and you go and talk to them also on WhatsApp, you want the conversation to continue, not you have to explain everything again. So one of the companies that this worked really well for is called Neat. They are out of Asia Pacific, and they're a financial service for small, medium businesses. And again, COVID accelerated their need for fast, secure online transactions. And again, everything, customer activity completely increased, and they're having a lot of trouble. Now, again, think about it again. Their main product is to handle customers' money, and investing in omnichannel is a necessity, because if people feel like they can't reach you with their problems in the moment they have them, they're not building trust. So with that, you want all of these systems connected. You want people to feel like it's easy, and they're able to answer almost all of these tickets within one interaction. And it is wherever the person is. And it really gets faster too. So meet them where they are. The fancy term is omnichannel. I don't know, Tara, do you have any customers yet?
I do have customers, and I do a lot of emailing with my customers.
You do? Do you have any other channels they try to reach out to you on? I try to keep it through email, because I know that I can't keep up with the other ones, but a lot of them even just text me personally, or, if anything's through Facebook or something like that. But I'm like, if you want me to really respond, it's got to be through email. Yeah. Right. And you can see how that would escalate. Yes, today you're like, makes it you're one person or two, but you can see where that will escalate. And one day you need to have an actual system, right? Because eventually people are like, stop being as nice. When they perceive that you're bigger, they stop being as nice. It's a tough thing. You want to have that cute small thing. There's a forgivable period when you're a certain size. Right. You get really big. But yeah, no, I think that's great.
So Katie, that's like the CRMs. I mean, I love CRMs because that's a really good example, because if you have more than one person dealing with anybody, you can have all that, in the system, read it, talk about it, and you're, like you say, you're making a point to like understanding the customer, what their needs are, and even bringing that stuff up in another conversation with them, whatever it is. I see CRM being really, really efficient, even for small companies,
Oh yeah. No, and I think you brought up the part of multiple people working or touching each account. Hannes and I, we have a CRM. We use Zendesk Cell, which is a CRM. And it is really good for small, medium businesses. If you're planning on having 1 million customers, before you hit 1 million, you might need to move out of Zendesk, but it is right for like a small, medium business. That sort of, you're always going to have a certain
It's
number.
called good churn. That's the good churn. Go do something. Get out.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
need to
But
go
no,
on.
it
That's
is.
not
You
our
want
sweet
to have
spot.
that system. You want to be able to filter and organize and see how many, you know, the last time you talked to someone. The next thing, and Tara has live channels going, because again, our customers wanted it, but within ad chat in the first 12 months of funding, phone within the first 17 months. This is not just, you know, one person sitting there. So the hyper growth companies were 20% more likely to add live chat. Live chat is not when it says like, how can I help you today? And it says like select shipping. That we can talk about in a second, but that is real. But there is like, it's the people with really complex issues. So people are just we're seeing these high growth companies assigning more agents and more people to do live chat because there is always going to be these like super big issues. So for example, live chat, every story is currently starting with 2020, things changed. Chupi is a store in Dublin. They had an actual storefront. Makes sense. They're selling like 20,000 euro rings and stuff, like engagement rings. So it makes sense. You want to go try these things on. But what happened was, they had very serious lockdowns in the UK, and people were not allowed out of their houses, but they still wanted to buy engagement rings. Makes sense. So what they did is they brought in this system. They had all this tagging, but what they also started doing was if people got to a certain place, they would actually transfer them to like what they called a consultant. And they would have a live consultant with product be like, here's what it looks like here's how it looks on my hand. And then they ended up doing €1 million in care-based sales of like additional euros. Mm-hmm. So like that's additional. That wasn't just the sales that they had, or they were going to have it no matter what. And it's because they were able to have that live chat. And again, it all just happened. And the staffing, it really matters. They had structure around it. It wasn't just like a free for all, but customer satisfaction stayed really high when it was like a potentially really tough spot for them if people can't try on the fancy ring. So it's a cool story. I thought it was a cool business too, but anyways, so takeaway, use live chat, staff it. Let's see where we are. That way you can also, I'm going to skip this question, but okay. A help center. A lot of those little question answer things you see on a website are actually connected to a help center. So it's like, what's your question today? What we found, most people find, is about 80% of all questions are going to be answered by like, few articles, like 30 articles. Most of them, I think for my business, most of it's like, how can I return a product? How do I get a different size? You start to know what people are going to ask. I'm sure, Tara, you have those, like, I'm sure a lot of people probably ask some of the same questions. So this is what a help center is. It's articles organized in a way that is very easy. And you'll also find most people want to answer their questions themselves. They don't want to go through. They just want to find the answers. That's what this is. So those high growth startups they have 27% more content in the first 24 months. And that's a huge amount. That's like, we're talking a difference between 85 articles and like 60, but those 25 articles could be many conversations that don't have to be handled by one-on-one by person. So they call this the 600-second rule. But each agent spends 10 minutes per day with creating a new help article. And that's a great thing, because what it is the agents are trying to notice the patterns and they're just creating it. And so this is what people do is, okay, and 10 minutes sounds very reasonable. And an article, again, it could just be, these people have the same types of problems over and over again. And so you empower people and just dedicate it. It doesn't have to be the world's greatest article. It just has to be, can you answer the question quickly? And that's how help centers start. And you tag them. So, here's an example. So like an agent's trying to solve a problem. they realize, okay, this is something I've seen before. Pamela here is like, oh golly. So what she does is she quickly creates an article, and that's how it works in our system. And you want that ability quickly. You want all of these things to be easy connected. Or if Pam's with someone and she's like, you know what, there is an article, let me review it, or I can send it to you right now. You want everyone to have that same physical playbook.
Mhm.
So I just think, what is a question you answer over and over? I'm curious, Connie and Melissa, you run programs, you probably get some similar. What are the questions you're getting over and over?
Where
Well,
do I
lately
show
it's
up?
been, is that hybrid or what link is that? I
Where do
swear, I mean,
show up?
Yeah,
how can I, is
There
that
you
in
go.
person? Are masks required?
I know.
You know, do I have to be
Oh,
vaccinated?
Oh, that's changing every day, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you kind of start to know. You're like, I know what most people are going to ask, and like, how do we build out that database so they can get the answers themselves? That does not mean people will find the answers themselves, but you,
Yeah, so
as let's say, Connie can reference it though, because maybe it changed the day
we use a couple
before.
different platforms, Katie, you know,
Yeah,
with our companies. And so even those, you know, we have to kind of manage those, you know, like Melissa or I, you know, they have questions, just, you want to make things easy for them to understand, because it's no different than having a customer, right? You don't want to lose them. You want to keep their attention and keep them engaged. But if they're struggling through something like platforms, for instance, then it makes things a little bit more difficult, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I hope the takeaway is invest in self-service now. It also can just be that frequently asked question page on your website before you get to like a whole tool that's like super searchable. I mean, that's like a real like takeaway, steal that way. Add apps and integrations that increase productivity and streamline workflows. So this is every 6 months, add an app every 6 months for the first 18 months. Once you have the tool that we talked about, once you're out of the inbox, start integrating things so you can have that full picture. These are some of our most popular integrations. Knowledge capture is something that's through Zendesk, and that's sort of what we were just showing with the articles. Jira is if you have like a tech-enabled startup. Slack, you want all these things again, where you can just, everyone's playing from the same book. We're all looking at the same things. Also super, super popular is Shopify. If we do, Zendesk, for example, does connect with all of it, because you want everyone again seeing, oh, hey, Hannes, I saw that you bought this last week. Oh, I saw that you had an Instagram conversation with Jen. I'm so glad it worked out. How can I help you today? Right? Like, you want it to seem seamless. So the takeaway there, growing teams invest more in apps integrations to put the data at the fingertips. So we're going to keep going. I'm almost there. Finally, the last thing they're doing is being relentless about driving down first reply times and resolution times. It is so important. Resolution times is not something I actually honestly was that aware of before today. It makes a lot of, or not today, before I got more as an expert in CX. But aim for 3 hours first reply and 8 hours resolution time within 2 years. And so that's something we saw. An example, I don't know if you all know what Biobot is. They're down to resolution times within like an hour and a half. Now they have a lot more people, but it's like, if it's also the question of a sale, you need to be fast, right? So you want everyone to be like, oh, they did it so easy and fast. I'm so excited.
What do they do, Katie? What do they do?
Biobot is a jewelry store. I have two jewelry reference, but they also do some upselling in those conversations. But it is like, you want to keep, if they're in the buying mind, keep going. Yeah. But yeah, that speed is just so important, especially you don't want people forgetting about whatever the issue was. So those are the 6 tips. I wanted to keep going. Here they are again. If you want to take a screen grab, this is a good thing, or take a photo. I have so many photos of things like this, but you don't have to do it all in a day. So let me go back a second. You do not have to do all these things in a day. This is just like, here are the things I'm going to start thinking of. There's a few numbers I need to think about. So if you're questioning if the investment's worth it, so churn being the number, like lost customers, if you're able to reduce churn by 5%. So this line up here is a churn of only 5%. So every month or year, however you're measuring it, I lose 5% of my customers. You can have, if it goes from 10% of customers churning and losing to only 5%, you can have 50% more revenue. I mean, that's like crazy.
Mhm.
I mean, that could be super impactful. And if you recall, again, we were saying the cost of acquisition is higher now more than ever. These are all numbers that really add up, and they do impact that bottom line in really significant ways. So it could be 50% more revenue. And also you can see the line has a lot more hope. The 5% churn line is much more hopeful. So that is I'm going to get, before I do Q&A, I just want to review. So Zendesk does have a program that we offer startups. Zendesk is primarily, I'm going to skip this video. It's good, but it's like, I want to make sure I have some time for questions. Oops. Oh, I'll let you all see that later. I'll also just share. So this is the link if you do want to apply. Let me just talk to you about, I'll put it in the Zoom chat. The link is also ITEN specific. So it's cute. Yeah, so Zendesk, we believe we are champions of customer service. This is what we've always been focused on. It is in our DNA. It's what our founders were like, we're solving customer service. That's our jam. And we power some of the world's most innovative customer experiences. And because that's all we're thinking about, we're building all of the best practices into the product. So you don't always have to be like, what's the next big thing? That's what we're thinking about. Our program, if you join, and we have a link, this is the link that you can join to access the perks for you all, for your community. You have 6 months free of Zendesk Suite and the sales CRM. We have weekly office hours, so you can connect with people who live and breathe the tool and can answer anything you've ever imagined. And then access to our community programs, events, including a Slack channel. So you start doing customer experience, maybe you add in someone, that person can join that Slack channel and really have a deeper understanding, because it is hard you can't have everyone be an expert in everything. And then the eligibility, most people tend to meet this, but must be a new Zendesk customer, less than 100 employees, and Series B or below funding. It's okay if you don't have funding, we will still review you. That can feel like an overwhelming, especially we're not penalizing anyone if they have bootstrapped, which for the students, it just means you've gotten your own money to build the company. So that's that. What questions do people have that I could answer?
We can post this. We're recording this. We can post this on our YouTube channel. You're good
Awesome.
with that? Okay.
Yeah.
I figured as much.
Yeah.
All those links, Melissa, and our perks, they're in the perks
Right.
providers. But yeah, thanks for going over that, Katie, just to let everybody know that again.
Yeah.
Yeah. As Connie says, we have people, ITEN companies that have their eyes on us in different ways, whether it's inside our community engagement platform or on our YouTube channel for things that they missed or want to kind of see the presentations that they,
awesome,
or just out in the rest of our social media. I know Connie does a great job of pushing out all this stuff because, as you said at the beginning of your presentation, it's hard to keep people's attention and get people's attention on things. And so we try to put some this is a very evergreen topic, and can keep pushing this out and reminding people about this. And it really goes well. I'm glad we'll definitely push it out to those, those companies of ours that have just finished our Eureka validation, the customer discovery stuff, where they're, getting some traction and are seeing maybe that maybe at some point soon it's going to become unruly, and maybe I should put some things in place. So
it can happen. As we saw, many of those companies had it managed until one night It
One
exploded.
night, I woke up.
One
and
day,
wow.
one day in March of 2020, like 4 of the stories started that way. Anyone have questions about anything? Tara, I know you came because you wanted to learn a bit more about the tool. I hope you did.
Yeah. I do have a question. As far as customer feedback, then, is there a solution for that? I know we didn't dive totally into that, but you know, where they can do 5 stars or write reviews, that type of thing.
So the first thing, how would those reviews be shared? Like, what are you looking for like, how will those reviews be shared?
Yeah, it might be a bit of a deeper conversation of how that would work, but yeah, if we could connect, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm happy to connect. I'll also, the reason I asked, so we connect with a lot of tools. For example, if you're a services business, we connect, Zendesk connects with Trustpilot.
Okay.
And so that's a private organization managing reviews. But what's nice about it is, let's say someone leaves a review on Trustpilot. If you have that connection, Zendesk the review will go in like a ticket and you can respond to it, which you always want to be responding to reviews. But there's lots of different tools. I don't know, eCommerce, we use a tool that just automates it. But again, a lot of those tools can connect with our tool. We have a lot of integrations and apps, an insane amount. So it just depends on like what you're looking for. Are you looking just, you know, if you're just looking for reviews to be on your website, there's tools for that, and those can integrate with ours as well. Does that kind of, I know that's kind of like
it does.
Yeah.
So kind of like if on Shopify, if somebody can review your products, let's say, so it would be more of in that style.
Yeah, like I know my business personally uses Yatpo, I believe. Let me just pull. That's something that I don't know if Yatpo specifically, but it's very easy into your inbox.
And I just saw that in your chat, you just put a link for that uses Airtable. So does Zendesk integrate with all of these? Okay.
And Zendesk integrates with many. Here, I'll just send you Yatpo. This is the tool we use at my business for, and so what that does is it actually can just send an email to people after they purchase within a certain amount of days. So like 8 days after the purchase, they're like, oh, did you like it? You can leave a review. Then Tara, you're going to want to review all the reviews.
Okay.
Those are the ones that go on your website. So it's but let me just see. Zendesk integrates. They might integrate with this. They integrate with so many things. So that's the only reason I don't know. Yeah, so Zendesk integrates with Yatpo. So you could, those like, you could sort of see, okay, someone left a negative review. Now we can actually add it to a ticket.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
But yeah, Yatpo is cool because you can leave like photos. We also do like, oh, you get like 10% off next time because you left us a review.
Nice.
Yeah, all the things. So you're selling something, is my guess?
Exactly. We sell services. So, and we're still trying to figure out how. That's why I couldn't answer specifically of where it would be, but it would be into the businesses that we sell the services. So it's business to business services.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. Yeah. So many, there's lots of different integrations tools.
Yeah. And
any other question? Yeah.
I think I'm just thinking, because I know a little bit about Tara's business, but just what purpose are they going to be used for too? So are the reviews, like in Tara's case, going to be used by her actual customers to increase employee retention of the program because she does wellness programs for companies, or is it front facing where you want more companies to use your services? Yeah, that could be a very different, like, I don't know, affect how you take it in and how you respond. Do you agree, Tara?
Exactly, it could be. So if we have employees reviewing a program that they just went through, we certainly want to be able to utilize that for other companies and employees. But then if we want the company to purchase the services to make accessible for their employees, then that's another review, those types of things.
Yeah. Cool.
There's lots of options. I believe.
Yeah.
And that's why it's
I'm
more
like
complex
thinking-
than just that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if do you know Gym Pass?
Yes, I mean, they're from a while ago. Yeah, I've looked them up before, but not for a while. And I know things change quickly.
Oh yeah, I might be able to get in touch with someone over there. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, you can take my email down and you can always email me and I can see if I can find someone. They were started in Brazil. They're a startup in that went through our program and have many, many customers now, but and they're B2B.
And so we're also looking for a communication tool then with our providers and the companies, but keeping it through Breakwell's platform. So I know, we could do Slack, we could do maybe Zendesk. I'm looking for just a few solutions that kind of cover everything that we need instead of integrating too many things. So
sorry. So is Slack as an internal? Is that what you?
Potentially, yeah. Again,
yeah. We integrate with Slack, so you can share things. So it's all connected. People can see it, but a lot of the Slack is like, hey, can you take a look at this? You can respond to things in Slack, if that makes sense, and then they can populate into the Zendesk tickets. I personally, though, I will be upfront. I do not have a team of customer experience people, so I haven't needed to use the Slack integration. I'm sharing what I know. Mm-hmm. We have a person. It's mostly me and my partner. Their own business. So, but I can see if we have anyone at Gym Pass who might be able to talk to you. I don't know.
That'd be
but
wonderful.
There's interesting business. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you all, and Melissa and Connie for setting this up. Katie, it was nice meeting you.
It was nice meeting you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks.
Okay, for the students, I hope it wasn't too boring and you got something from it. I hope so.
Yeah.
Connie, thank you for having me.
You made it fun today.
Okay, good. That's you're all in a lot of things. You got a lot going on. I hope you all stay safe. I hear it's an ice blizzard out there, ice storm.
Yeah.
But thank you all so much. Thank you, Connie, for having me. I'm totally available. You can check out the bit.ly to get if you want to sign up, or my email if you have questions. And Connie has my contact information. If months from now you're like, remember that lady? Who was that? Totally happens all the time.
And also on the Perk, as Connie said, it's the Perks page on Union. So all the information about the.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Katie.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Was it bad out there when you were driving?